Going on, guys? Make sure you follow us on social media at Connor Mark Show. We are back here. Mark Rogers, Connor Gabe, back on YouTube. Reaction to the 53-man roster that dropped for the Philadelphia Eagles. Today was the deadline at 4 o'clock. We're recording this at around 4:30. 30 minutes past the deadline as it currently stands right now. Howie Roseman and head coach Nick Sirianni speaking with the media, but the 53-man roster has been released for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're here to react about some surprising cuts, some surprising players that made the team. But first, Mark, man, how you doing?
Good, man. Just like you said, recording this around 4:30. So actually it was funny watching a little of the Mets Marlins. Don't want to take too much focus off the Eagles, but just funny, always seeing a division opponent within Philadelphia getting beat and all upset while they were in first a little while ago. So I'm doing well, man. Hopefully Phils can carry this over and keep the streak going. But in terms of the Eagles, it's an exciting time. This roster finally getting cut down, and it's amazing that we're a little more than a week away from week one in the NFL season. So absolutely stoked and can't wait to dive into what this roster is going to look like.
Yeah, I'm excited too, because obviously there's going to be a lot of guys that we kind of there's a little bit up in the air this year because a lot of young guys and really not knowing who's gonna make team and who wasn't, and there's some surprising names that came through. So we'll run through it right now. So obviously starting off the quarterback spot, 3 quarterbacks make the roster, which is usually what they carry for the past couple of seasons. Obviously with the trade with Gardner Minshew that happened a couple of days ago, really happened live on our Saturday WCHE show. We reacted to it. So Gardner Minshew is gonna be on the roster, but Jalen Hurts has obviously made it, and Joe Flacco, obviously Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni are speaking with the media right now, and I just heard that Nick Sirianni officially announced that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter in Atlanta week 1, which is obviously not a surprise. He's been the only quarterback running with the first team this whole training camp. So obviously the Eagles will be carrying 3 quarterbacks going into the season. So Mark, what do you think about those 3 going into the quarterback spot?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy finally they made this, decision that we knew which was the inevitable and should have been named earlier. But again, I know Sirianni loves to keep the compete level high, and I understand, I guess, in the sense of not wanting Jalen Hurts to get too high or too low. But, he's not that type of guy. He definitely comes and competes every day and appreciates where he is with the work he puts in. So, just starting off at QB1, I really will love to see and happy that they're giving Jalen Hurts the opportunity, to lead this football team. I've heard nothing but great things. And in regards to whoever's going to be the backup, I think it's going to be Flacco. I'm not sure if it's going to be Flacco or Minshew, but I think they're 2 great pieces. Obviously got a guy in Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He looked pretty good in the preseason, in my opinion. I thought he looked way more mobile than I expected, and was making some good plays. So that feels good. And then obviously the newest acquisition and the newest guy on the team and Gardner Minshew, he also has a high compete level, a 5th or 6th round pick from Washington, not given a huge, margin of opportunity, but made the most of it last year. Obviously Jags weren't the greatest team in the league, probably the worst. Again, the first overall pick, and Lawrence comes in. So I'm excited to see these 3 guys in the quarterback room. And I think Flacco and Minshew are only going to make, Hurts better. So I think the quarterbacks is definitely a bright spot for this team in terms of leadership.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all knew Hurts was going to be a starting quarterback going into Atlanta, and obviously the coaching staff just announced that right now. But the Gardner Minshew thing is a little bit surprising where he's going to fit. Obviously, he's had a really good career so far, surprising career in Jacksonville, being a 6th round pick and coming in and being able to, play at a high level with that dumpster fire organization. So the Eagles going out, getting him a 6th round pick was a good move by Howie. And even though it does make it a little bit competitive in the quarterback room, a little bit more competitive, some fans want, some big Jalen Hurts supporters obviously want to see what he can do this year. So it was a little bit weird. And I was a little bit surprised seeing that Gardner Minshew was an Eagle. But going to running backs, only 3, which is a little bit surprising. Jordan Howard does not make the cut. So it's going to be Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenny Gainwell, the rookie out of Memphis. A little bit surprising they're going to go 3 right now. We don't know. That can change, obviously, in the coming days. But obviously, Miles Sanders can be a starter, and Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell are going to be, obviously, 2nd and 3rd down backs. And Kenny Gainwell, I think, is going to have a big rookie year. I think he's going to come in and have a big role as the season progresses. And he really proved himself in the preseason. He looks like somebody who can make a real impact. So 3 running backs, that could change. Obviously, in the next coming days. Wide receiver, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, and JJ Arcega-Whiteside. JJ Arcega-Whiteside is a surprising name. Obviously, Hightower and what's his name? Travis Fulgham both get cut, which is obviously the two surprising names that got cut today for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with this wide receiver room because it's so young and really inexperienced. Fulgham obviously being a bright star from probably week 4 to about week 9 of last season, or week 3 around there. Came in the 49ers game, kind of came onto the site and then kind of disappeared there at the end of the season. Again, you can't really look at last season for a player, especially in the NFL. And with all this young talent coming in, it stinks that he had to go along with John Hightower. But, I think this really comes down, and I've said it to you before. I think it comes down to an ego of the general manager and Howie Roseman. I mean, they spent a second round pick, obviously, on Arcega-Whiteside a few years ago, has not panned out to what we thought he was going to be at all. And I think it's just too hard for him to release a second rounder. Not saying that I think Fulgham or Hightower is better, but I do think that they have better potential than Arcega-Whiteside, just at this point in his career and the failures that he's really endured. But again, they make that decision, I think, off a strong bias towards spending that second round pick, in opposed to a Fulgham being an undrafted free agent and Hightower being a 5th round pick. So I don't fully agree with the move, but I could also see the Eagles getting another wide receiver, and then that bumps Arcega-Whiteside out of the wide receiver room. But again, it's not really a competitive wide receiver room outside of Smith and, depending on the year that Reagor has, obviously being a first round pick. So I found that a little surprising.
So 4 tight ends, which is a little bit surprising. Going forward, it's going to be Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, the 2 starters. Tyree Jackson, who was originally a quarterback, switched over to a tight end, had a really good training camp until he got hurt, I believe, in the first week of training camp, first week of games. So he got hurt, didn't really get to play a lot, but he didn't want to cut him because he probably would have been claimed if he was going through waivers. And then Jack Stoll, the undrafted free agent out of Nebraska, which was a little bit of a surprise as well. So Richard Rodgers does not make the team. He got cut. So those are your 4 tight ends. 4, which was a little bit surprising. I thought they would go 3, but they're probably going to put Tyree Jackson on was it a pup list? Usually I think that's what they do. They put him on 6 or 7 weeks. I don't know how long he's going to be for. It's a long-term injury. So I don't know if he's going to miss the whole year, but he's definitely always going to be out for probably the first half of the season. So 10 offensive linemen, the starters, Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, Isaac Seumalo, and then the backups, Brett Toth, Nate Herbig, Jack Driscoll, Andre Dillard, and then Landon Dickerson, who they drafted in the second round this year. Did not play any training camp or preseason, so he was added on the roster pretty late. I believe it was yesterday or earlier today. He was activated. So those are the 10 offensive linemen. Andre Dillard obviously is going to be a big name. He could get moved. We don't know yet. But Landon Dickerson, I really think that he's going to be playing a big role this year. I don't know if he's going to be starting, but assuming that one of the 3 interior linemen go down, I think he's going to be the first guy in if he's healthy.
I think they're definitely looking at him to be a key component on this offensive line and really being a building block, for the future. Just as you alluded to, he did get activated yesterday with Ronnie McLeod. So, big activation there, avoiding the pup list, as you just alluded to, for Tyree Jackson. And you are correct. The pup list does put you out at least until week 6 of the NFL season. So that's big that they brought Dickerson back. And I guess in their opinion that he was healthy enough to come back. And I totally agree with you. I think if, pray to God, but over the past few years, it's really been a struggle of staying healthy on that offensive line. And at least, they have a younger guy that hopefully they can rely on throughout the season to step in if someone does go down. So I do like, Dickerson getting off of the pup list. And, I think as an offensive lineman, I think reps are important. I'm not saying that, but I think they're a little less important and a little easier to step in to a role rather than being a skilled position guy.
All right, so going to the defensive side of the ball, starting at defensive end, they brought in 5. They're keeping 5. Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, who they brought in, a free agent from Washington, and then Teron Jackson, the rookie drafted out of Coastal Carolina. He was pretty impressive, I thought, in the week 3 game against the Jets. I thought he played well, and he actually made the team, which was a little bit surprising. There's a lot of rookies that made this team. I think the number I saw was 8. So it's a good number, and he's going to be another guy I'm interested to see. I don't know if he's going to dress on game days. Probably not, because they do have Milton Williams, where I'll get to the defensive tackle. Also, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Marlin Tuapalo, I believe is his name.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that one out too.
Yeah. And Milton Williams wrapping out the whole defensive line. So I bet Teron Jackson probably won't be dressed on game days, because they do have Milton Williams in that role. I know he's put down here as a defensive tackle, but he does also rush the passer. He's a big guy he can get to the quarterback as well. So those are the defensive line. I actually like that group. I'm interested to see what Josh Sweat can do this year. Interested to see what kind of role Ryan Kerrigan makes. And I'm really interested to see how Javon Hargrave bounces back from his last year. I know he's banged up last year, wasn't healthy, and now he looks healthy. Looks like he's playing better than ever. Really found his role in this system and being comfortable in Philadelphia. I think he's setting himself up for a pretty big year.
And one of those names that you said, and again, it's going to trip me up here, but Marlin Tuapalo, I guess is how you pronounce it.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I'm surprised that they did keep him. I mean, I guess they had to keep one of them, but speaking in terms of the defensive line, but I didn't think he had the greatest preseason, and I was reading some articles. I don't think he had a great camp either. So the Eagles must see some promise or some potential. And again, they, with all these young guys making the team, I think the Eagles are also looking as this as being a building year and a potential building block. So maybe trying to bring some of these younger guys in, groom them, and give them an opportunity, to prove beyond the preseason that they can be NFL players in the future. So again, a little surprised on that, but I also do understand the reasoning, with all these young guys making the team, that it may be more of a long-term option than obviously just for this year.
Yeah, we're moving past the defensive line and heading towards linebacker. They kept 7 of them, which is a pretty big number. So I'll run through them. Jannard Avery, who Howie Roseman brought in. I believe he traded a 5th-round pick for him a couple years ago. Sean Bradley, the Temple native. TJ Edwards, Patrick Johnson, Alex Singleton, who's going to be a starter. Davion Taylor, 3rd-round pick from a couple years ago. And then Eric Wilson, who they brought in from Minnesota. So it looks like Singleton and Wilson will be the starters, I'd imagine. Looking from that list, Davion Taylor or a TJ Edwards would probably be the next guy off the bench behind those 2 guys. And then you look at Bradley, you look at maybe a Patrick Johnson or other guys or even a TJ Edwards would be running special teams and gunners on punts or on kickoffs. So they have a pretty big list on the linebacker spot. Now I'm going to wrap it up here for cornerback and safety. Avonte Maddox, Zach McPherson, Steven Nelson, Josiah Scott, who they brought in from Jacksonville, and then Darius Slay are the cornerbacks. And then on the safety spot, Rodney McLeod, who they activated off the injured list, Kayvon Wallace, Anthony Harris, and then Marcus Epps. And then on special teams, they have kicker Jake Elliott, long snapper Rick Lovato, and then punter Aaron Sipas is his name?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then obviously there's a couple moves made throughout the day. They traded Matt Bryant to Indianapolis Colts in exchange for a 6th-round pick. They also sent a 7th-round pick to the Colts with them. So that 6th-round pick that they traded away to get Gardner Minshew, they got back trading away Matt Pryor. They're already probably going to cut Matt Pryor. So really, they just got a 6th-round pick out of them, which is pretty nice. They're traded a 6th for the 7th. So that's a pretty good move. And like I said, the big names that got released today, Travis Fulgham, John Hightower, Jason Huntley, Michael Jaquette, Craig James, Andre Patton, Jacoby Stevens. Actually, I didn't even see him. He got cut. Yeah, so I wonder he's probably going to clear and go to practice squad. He didn't really play during training camp at all, as well as straight up just released Andrew Adams, Jordan Howard, Hassan Ridgeway, Richard Rodgers, Kayvon Seymour, and then Raven Clark. So that's the 53-man roster for the Philadelphia Eagles going into Atlanta a couple weeks from now. So, Mark, obviously, what was the biggest move that stood out to you? The biggest cut, the biggest guy who made it. So, what was really just stuck out to you today for the 53-man roster?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things was Jordan Howard not making the team, or for that matter, just not carrying 4 running backs. Maybe they just potentially see, you can pull a guy from the practice squad. Most likely that guy, and the biggest chance of him clearing waivers and finding his way on the practice squad again is going to be Elijah Holyfield, but potentially Jason Huntley could be down there as well. But I just think, with this with this running back room, the diversity that you could get with Jordan Howard, just in the sense of Boston Scott being an absolute, burner down the sideline. We saw that in the preseason Jets game. You have Miles Sanders, who's the number one guy here. I think he would benefit from maybe having a guy that can ground and pound a little bit, such as a Jordan Howard. But that was one of the biggest things that kind of surprised me. I also thought Jordan Howard was a decent blocker. I think Gainwell may have, displayed that he's a better blocker, and they thought they could save some space there and move elsewhere. But that was a pretty big surprise to me. Another big surprise was, obviously the Fulgham over Arcega-Whiteside, as well as John Hightower. I potentially thought that, they have more upside than an Arcega-Whiteside, but again, with that second round pick, it's hard, I guess, for Howie Roseman to swallow that and let him go. So those are my two big surprises on offense. Not too much on defense, just other than the 7 linebackers, as you alluded to. I think that's a lot. But
usually I feel like they go 5, maybe 6.
I was thinking maybe 5 or 6. They might get into the season and either cut a guy, send him to the practice squad, do something. But 7 was a very high number, for the caliber of play from some of these guys. I mean, I know Bradley's a young guy. He can play a little bit, but, if you had to cut it down, he wouldn't be the worst guy to release or someone along that line. And then one of the guys that I really want to see have a breakout year and see if he's really worth it is Jannard Avery. I mean, we gave up I believe you said 5th. I think we gave up a 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, which just makes the stakes even a little bit higher for a guy like that. I think that when he was on the Browns, he had a pretty big impact. And I think if he could bring somewhat of an impact like that, I mean, we haven't really seen it. When we traded for him, he was hurt. He was hurt for most of last year. I think he came in and then as soon as he came in, played a few snaps and got hurt again. So I would like to see what he has, if he's really worth it, because he could be on his way out very quickly. And then the last thing that surprised me from the linebacker position, I know they had 7, so they obviously had to make some determination. But Joe Osman, he's been around here for a while. I was kind of surprised that they cut ties with him just for how long he's been with the Eagles. But I thought he could have been a decently nice player for this team or a backup, but those were some of the surprises. And then just one guy that I think could have a potentially, I don't want to say breakout year, but a year that could lead him to being a NFL tight end and could lead him, being on this team for a little bit, is a Jack Stoll. I think he is somewhat of a younger version of a Zach Ertz when he was obviously in his younger years here in the Eagles organization. Not comparing him to the success that Ertz has had, but this guy showed a little flash potential in the preseason. Didn't play against the Steelers, but against the Pats, he had 4 receptions, 33 yards, and then against the Jets, 2 receptions for 14 yards. Again, nothing that stands out or is going to really jump out of you on those stat lines, but with the opportunity that he's been given in the preseason, and again, that opportunity is going to cut down a lot. I think he could be, a useful player for this team. And again, in his young years, undrafted free agent, as you alluded to, from Nebraska. I think if he does get an opportunity, he is going to raise some eyebrows. So, a very interesting day in terms of the 53-man roster. Obviously, the headline being Hurts being the starting quarterback, just the announcement, not the actual action of him being the number 1 quarterback. And then some of these cuts. So a very young team, not a lot of expectation as normal going into an Eagles season, but I think this team can still compete in the NFC East. I know we're going to dive into it a little more on Saturday's show, but a lot of room here. I mean, Dallas looks a little banged up right now with Prescott. Not too sure what's going on there. Washington has Fitzpatrick as their quarterback, and the Giants have, Daniel Jones as their quarterback. So a lot of opening here. If Hurts can really lead this team and get off to a fast start in Atlanta, I don't see why this team cannot compete in the NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in the coming coming days of the roster. I mean, listen, things could change, and obviously other players getting waived around the league, and that may interest Howie Roseman on the waiver wire, or maybe makes another trade. I don't think that the roster right now is currently set in stone. There could, I think Tyree Jackson is probably going to put on the injured list, and then that'll probably free up a roster spot for if they want to go out and get another running back. It's a pretty short room there with only 3 guys, or like I know Devontae Freeman got released, so that's an interesting name that if the Eagles don't look at, getting him as the 4th running back. But like we said, Miles Sanders is going to be the number one running back. And I really think Kenny Gainwell is going to get a lot of reps and along with Boston Scott. I know that those two are similar in their styles of play and what they do. And they're similar size as well. But I think that both of those guys are going to get a lot of time and they're both playmakers. And I think that the running backs have a big, role, not only run the football, but also catching it. So we'll see what happens. Other moves coming up. We'll be talking about that throughout the week as well. And then also Saturday, like you said, college football is really going to be back. Week 1 is officially going to be here. It's going to be a lot of good games. Penn State's going to be back. They're playing the first game on the road against Wisconsin. I think Alabama plays Miami, which is a pretty good game. I think it's going to be around 3 o'clock. Do you know what the night game is? I don't know what the night game is, but
I do not know. Oh, it's Georgia Clemson. That's going to be a really good game.
That's a fantastic game.
It's going to be awesome. And then Sunday night, Notre Dame versus Florida State. So that should also be, Florida State has struggled over the past few years, but maybe they'll get back on track and make that a pretty interesting game. And I believe it's being played in South Bend.
Yeah. And Thursday is going to be Ohio State. That's their first game. They're going to be on the road to play the Gophers in Minnesota.
Yeah, and if you do watch this before Thursday, early line, I mean, might as well just get it right out there.
You got some bets? Say, okay, right now, here, throw it out there. See what you got.
Ohio State -14. I mean, that's just beautiful. I'm definitely gonna take advantage of that. I think they're gonna absolutely roll Minnesota by 30 points. Even though they're on the road, game 1, they've Chris Olave. He's probably going to be a first round pick in the top 10. They were having a really heated quarterback battle there. I believe, I don't know who won it actually, but I know they're having a big battle down there, and they're just Ohio State. They're going to dominate. They Master Teague returning. So if you're watching this, again, an early line that I love, -14 Ohio State on the road Thursday night against Minnesota.
There's some other good games here too. A lot of other ranked games like, Indiana, Iowa, 17 versus 18. That's a good game. It's going to be at 3:30 on Saturday.
It's going to be good.
The Raging Cajuns taking on the Longhorns. It's going to be 23 versus 21. That's going to be a good game as well. And then the big one, like I said, Georgia Clemson, Saturday night in Clemson, number 3 versus number 5. I've been into Penn State too. So that's going to be a big new kickoff. 19 going on the road to face the 12 Wisconsin. So,
real quick, what is that line on Georgia and Clemson?
Georgia Clemson. See, I'm on the Bleacher Report app, dude. I don't think it's even coming up. They don't even have the – I mean, I can look on the Sportsbook app, but I
really like Georgia. I mean, I'm believe they're going to get – I don't think they're going to get a touchdown, but I think they'll get 4.5 or 5 points.
My guess would be 5.5.
5.5. I'm going to say 5 they're going to get. And I know Clemson's returning, Justin, I believe it's Justin Ross, wide receiver.
He's a quarterback. He's a
Ukulele. EJ Ukulele. Or
he didn't look bad because I know he put it.
He looked very good.
Yeah, he looked good.
But Georgia has a ton of guys returning as well, and I know
who's their quarterback.
Their quarterback is JT Daniels, USC transfer. So he's looking to have a big year. I honestly would look at taking the points and taking Georgia. I know they're going to Clemson, but I think this Georgia team is hungry, and they definitely want to crack the college football playoff. And really, if you're looking at it, I can't even believe that we're talking about this already. But if whoever really ends up winning this game is going to have a bid, going to the college football playoffs. And obviously whoever loses is going to have a really tough time finding their way to the college football playoffs.
I just found this line. I have the Barstool Sportsbook app. They have Wisconsin favored by 5.5.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're home. They're home.
Yeah, I know they're home, but still, I don't know if Penn State's going to win, but I'll probably take Penn State in the points. I mean, I definitely think they can cover 5.5.
I think taking the team with the points in week 1, or obviously last week was week 0 in terms of Illinois and Nebraska, and Illinois got 8 or 7 points. But I think taking the points in the first week of college football, or the first game for a team in college football, is always a good play. It's just tough. You don't know how these teams are going to perform. And it's really always a close game, in my opinion. So I would recommend taking the points.
Nah, I agree. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And it's going to be exciting college football. The day, I know we're going to be on the radio at around 10 in the morning. So that's going to be right before all the games could be start going. Also, we'll be talking Eagles football. Also, the Ben Simmons news that dropped today. We don't really get into it. We'll probably put another video out maybe tomorrow when more news drops. But The Ben Simmons look like he's come back to Philly is really not going to happen. And there's going to be lots of stuff to be talking about Saturday, Mark. So I'm pretty excited about that. So alongside Mark Rogers, I'm Connor Gabe. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you guys Saturday.